So in this episode, we're going to be focusing or exploring how power dynamics, medicalization, disempowering women during childbirth can result in traumatic experiences where women may feel like they have little control over their bodies and the birth process. And with me here today is my friend, my sister, Rhoda Asio. You'll introduce yourself a bit later. And the reason why she's here with me today is we're going to discuss how her birth process and how, went for her and what that looks like with regard to what we call respectful maternity. Welcome, Rhoda.
Thank you.
So maybe we start with introducing yourself and, what you do and how you came to be here.
My name is Rhoda Asio. I'm a chef. I think that's what I identify myself as most of the time. Now a newly mother. And I'm here because you invited me to come here to talk to you.
Wow.
To come and share my birth experience, because it might be, some women might relate with me, some might not feel alone and,
Maybe
they'll
understand.
feel like, I've gone through that and I'm not alone, it's fine and everything.
So wait, first, before you go into that, maybe I can say the reason why I asked you to come here.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's start from there. So Rhoda is my sister-in-law. She recently had her baby, and we basically, I was there for the birth. And I say this to everyone that I talk to, actually my friends, that for me, that birth was very traumatic, mainly because it was the first time I'd actually witnessed a birth. I have 2 kids, but this is the first time
you actually saw
it for myself. And I after that, I left and I said to my husband, wow, if this had happened before we had our second child, we'd still be having a first child. Because for me, it was very traumatic. But I want to hear it from you. Like, how do you feel like from the get-go, conceiving, being pregnant, and then actually giving birth to the child? What do you feel that process went like for you? And feel free to talk about the hospital visits and all that stuff. But we just want to hear from you. Because when we talk about birth trauma, it's more than just how you were handled in the hospital. It's more about, was it a bit respectful? Did they hear what you wanted? Did you receive the care that you thought you were going to get, and other things? Start from, I conceived. How was your journey?
The month of conception was that was one of my happiest months that year. I mean, I went and got tattoos. I was all over the place. I had so much joy. And I think that's why Fati has so much joy, actually. I had so much joy. And then one day, I'm trying to finish a beer and it's not going down. And I thought, okay, what's going on?
Yeah.
Then I obviously missed my period. 7 days later, and I'm thinking, it can't be, because I'm on birth control anyway. I've been taking my pills on time. I've been doing everything as I should. I had the alarms that rang at 8 p.m. And here I am. So I said, okay, let me just go and take a pregnancy test. I mean, how many times have women taken pregnancy tests? I think over 100 times. So when I went to take it, I remember waiting for the time, just 2 minutes to see the results. And I was like, I'm sure this is going to be negative. So I turn around and I see 2 lines. So I'm like, no, this is not happening. So I went to I was at General Maternity, by the way. I went to get that Good Life and I got another test. And I went to pee again.
Same thing.
Same thing. Said, no, maybe this is just faulty. So I'll take time, give it another week, test. And then do another test. Those lines were so strong. I think I've never seen such distinct two lines
clear
like
lines
this.
Immediately,
without even, nothing was faint. So I went to the doctor, my gynecologist at that time, and I did that whole blood test, whatever. He's like, unfortunately, I'll have to tell you congratulations.
Unfortunately?
Because he's like, I don't know if you're prepared. I can't tell anything. And I said, no. It took some time to actually sink in. And I realized I'm pregnant. So I'm thinking, now what am I going to tell my mom? I felt like I'm a teenager, like I'm still 17. Me, I'm a teen mom, actually.
You're not.
I'm a teen mom.
You're not.
So I'm thinking, hey, what will my mom say? And then weirdly that week she calls me and she says, baby, I had a dream you had a big family. And I was like, this thing with mothers and the instincts, it's a bit too uncanny. So now telling the father of the kids was the biggest. I don't know why it becomes such a hard thing to do. And you imagine so many scenarios in your head, like, can be a single mother, we're going to do this together. It's at some point I even thought maybe I can just run away. Start a family elsewhere by myself with a kid. I mean, so many things are running through my mind. Just to imagine me, this teen mom, raising a whole kid. And I felt like at that time my career had just started getting a good trajectory. And bam.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my conception period. Throughout the pregnancy, I would say it had so many ups and downs because first and foremost, the support I got from my families, both sides, was so phenomenal because that's when I felt, wow, I actually have a community behind me. And I can imagine how many women don't have that to say. So they don't have their partners, they don't have families behind. I mean, it's shocking. And even what I hear, people who have very supportive partners still feel alone.
Yeah.
And you can't invalidate anyone's feelings during pregnancy because you don't know what's going on. So the whole journey, I'd say, had very high highs and very low lows. Yeah. But up until I'd say by the time I was going to give birth, by then she took me. When I was in labor.
So pause there. Let me pick up the story for delivery. And then you can tell it from your own, because you always ask me, was my birth that traumatic?
Yeah, I wonder.
So we take Rhoda to the hospital, and I think we left you there. So I think it was like maybe 3 a.m. What time was it? 3 a.m.
3 a.m.
3 a.m. By the time we left at what, 6 maybe? Or 7?
I don't really remember.
Yeah. So anyway, at some point, 6, 7, we left her in the hospital. She was still walking around. She was fine. Laboring, but not actually laboring is how I remember it. And so we left. We go home, come back at 6. I think it was 6 or 4, whatever time it was. She was still laboring. So me in my mind, I was like, guy, you're still laboring. Hujapata mtoto. And in my head, I was like, why is this delivery taking so long? But again, I come from a place of privilege where I didn't have to labor so long. So again, that's me
basing it on your experience.
Basing it on my own experience, where everyone's experience is different. So I come back and I find Rhoda. The first thing that hits me was that how you were delivering in the same room I left you. Like, I was like,
hakuna delivery. Some sort of
yes, I was
room.
like, hakuna delivery room. And then people are just walking in and out. For me, that felt very, very unsafe. Like, it just felt...
I actually don't remember that part.
You don't remember anything.
I actually don't remember how many people walked in and out.
People are just walking, hiya, badum toto. And I'm like, bro, give this babe some privacy. Like, honestly, this is ridiculous. So to put it into context, how I think about delivery, and I might be old school, is that you go to the hospital, you're told, hii ndio labor ward, hii ndio delivery room, and then hiyo ndo place ya ward mali unafaa kwenda kulala. Period. So I don't know. For me, that was new. That laboring, delivering in one room, very American style, I had never seen.
Do you know, actually, because I'm a TikTok mother, a TikTok pregnant babe, I was seeing, first of all, I've always had a fear of nurseries. This thing of what happens to babies in the nurseries. I've always seen those videos. And I don't know why it's when you're about to experience something, that's when you start seeing the scary videos. So I was seeing this video of a nurse who took a baby who had been crying, I think, for 30 minutes and just bashed him. And I was like, by the way, nurseries? No, none. And then there's a story of babies being swapped. And I was like, you can't even tell babies apart most of the time. So I said, one of the reasons I actually chose that hospital was because it was newly influenced, if I may say. Newly influenced.
TikTok mom.
And I thought, yeah, I want to be in that room, deliver in that room.
Yeah.
And I'm not going anywhere. And I felt like the convenience of having a bathroom in your delivery room, as opposed to sharing loos, and you just gone through something through so
Traumatic.
I don't know. Yeah, traumatic, invasive, so much, and I didn't want to have to share public amenities, if I may say it. So that's one of the reasons I chose the hospital. And by the time I was going there, that's when everyone is asking me, "Hey, unazaa hapa?" And I'm like, yeah, is there another difference? Room? Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's the vision that I had, because for me, going through it 2 times differently, and you never having gone through it, I don't think you
had any expectations. Yeah.
And I think even when we're having these conversations, 100%, when you ask another mom, how is childbirth? They will not tell you exactly how it is, because it's like somehow, some way, my pain and yours won't be the same. Or true. I have forgotten that pain, or whatever it is, I won't tell you. You will find someone saying, simbaya, ama mtumia kwambe it's the worst pain you've ever had. So when you start thinking about the worst pain I've ever had, you can't put it into words. So me, when I came and I found you there, honestly, that was my first point of reference was no. It's a no. This is no. Where's the privacy, friend? Where are the... No. Where are the doctors? Where are the people in scrubs? Me, by the way...
And no. I think it also... What also, I think, influenced me is now my generation. Because we grew up seeing Kina Kardashians.
Pulling out their own babies from their own...
Yeah, our Nazalia, in those rooms where your family is there and everything. I mean, I didn't expect that many people in that room. Because at some point, by the time I was done, as I'm looking around, I'm like, all of you are here. I wasn't in that headspace to realize, but I think it's what we grew up seeing.
Yeah.
I think what we were exposed to and what we know. I mean, I never had any birth conversations with anyone per se until I was actually pregnant, and people are giving me so
different
many stories. I'm at work, and I don't know if I'll say fortunately or unfortunately, the people I work with don't have access to good medical health care. So the stories they tell me, they're like, nilizalia pumwani, and they're telling me, I'm like, no. No.
In my mind, I was like, I feel like a man right now, where I'm just saying no to everything. And then when the baby came out, my then concern moved from Rhoda to the baby. And it was so clear for me. It was like, what are we going to do with this baby? I did not think about you for one instant. I was just like, okay, that's done. So, and that was the clear distinction between the hospital and everyone else who was there. So the lady, the midwife, was very concerned about you. And she stuck there.
I remember that.
And she said, and I kept on asking, did you hear me asking, what about the baby? See, can you do something about the baby? And she was very, very clear to say, the mother comes first. We cannot lose the mother. She's losing a lot of blood. Let me finish this before we look after the baby. And that clicked something inside me. I'm like, so as a normal person, I'm not sure how to feel right now. I hear what you're saying, but for me, I'm thinking, the baby comes first. But
so let me ask you, I read this actually this week, and I don't know if it was a tweet or what I saw, but the question would be, if you are to choose one, your life is in danger, you're giving birth, and you're telling your husband to choose one, what would you say?
The thing around the research and the doctors, and that's why we had invited a medical doctor to join us today, so that we can just hear a different view about medicalization. And the thing that research always says, and like all these papers that doctors write, is that you save the mother's life.
Okay.
Because the mother can have other kids. You have to pick one. And it's not fair for you to ask that on one person.
That's true.
It's the doctor supposed to make that judgment. And usually you have to save a mother's life. If you can save both, do both. But again, I'm not a medical expert, So it would have been nice to just hear from someone who is a medical expert, how they make those decisions, how they make that judgment call. But again, I'd say she was very, very clear in her intention.
She didn't even stutter.
She didn't even say, she said, I have to do this, I have to finish and make sure she's fine. She's losing a lot of blood. So for me, that entire experience traumatized the hell out of me. I was just like, is this what birth looks like? Is this what birth feels like? It felt like I'd never had a child, honestly. Because if you ask me my experience,
I remember having your prayer.
I was just like, bro, is this done? You know, like you don't, you feel the pain, you move on from the pain. Now the child is here. It's like that never happened. But I witnessed it for what it was. The smells, the energy in the room, the people doing whatever they're doing, the child coming out of bejesus. And I was like, yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. I'm never going to do that again in my entire life, for me, for anyone, for whatever. So I just want to hear that was traumatic for me. And that's when I made that decision, like, never going to have any more kids.
I mean, I didn't, the birth I envisioned from the beginning is not what I wanted. I didn't want a hospital birth to begin with.
What did you want?
I wanted a water bath. Again, influence. I saw like 2 years earlier. I don't remember how far away it was. What's her name? Shikonguru. She had that. She's done it twice, actually. The water bath. Yeah.
Not once.
There was a first one with her first boy. I saw
in the sitting room on YouTube.
No. I think it was at the center itself. The guys who provide the whole setup. There was that one, and then there's the one that she had at home.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah,
and she looked very calm. She looked quite calm for what we expect a birth to be like.
The screaming and the whatever.
Yes,
yeah.
And then that's the time. Now again on TikTok, I'm seeing all this. Choose the way you want to give birth. The effects. The best way to give birth is water baths. What it does for you, it's a calm environment for the baby. It's you can give birth while squatted or whatever. You don't have to be on your back. All those things. It gives you that freedom to be comfortable. And that's what I saw until one time when I reached out to those guys. I think they're called Eve's Mama, something like that. And I saw the price of the package. And I was like, wow, $250,000 is not small money.
Yeah.
And it's not just accessible. And if you have insurance, consider that something to be covered. Of course, no, that looks like even something more risky to them, I think.
Yeah.
So they would not consider that. So now I had to go back to the drawing board and see, okay, what does my insurance cover? What's my limit, and what can I, where can I give birth? And you hear all these crazy stories of hospitals, and you don't even know what to choose.
Yeah.
So how I ended up on my choice, it's I don't know.
So how would you say it would have made your choice easier? What kind of information would you have needed, and packaged in what way? Because we're talking about TikTok right now. Talking about the TikTok generation, as you've said. What would have made it easier for you to access this information?
I mean, we don't have, how would I say? I think if more people spoke about what they've gone through, and not just for clout. There's some people who just do these things out of getting views or whatever, but actual experiences, and I think that's what people use to make their choices majority of the time. And I mean, it's Kenya. There's a lot of corruption going on, so you wouldn't be able to get the free actual information that you would need to help you make the choice. And I don't know how insurance companies guide us to do such things. Do they just help you choose the one that fits according to what they have to give the hospital? Because I hear that's another issue. And for me, by the time I was being discharged, my package was about 60K. And what my maternity was covering was about 200. But because of one small thing of the covering of a bed not being inclusive of that package, insurance said, they were not paying.
Really?
Yeah, I had to top up about 10 Gs or 15. So I found that so peculiar. And I thought, if it fits under what we're meant to pay, I mean, why not?
Yeah.
And I think maternity is not well covered in insurance companies, especially for those who pay for themselves and not just as a benefit from the company you work for. I think it's so limiting what we get to actually choose from, because now you're left with, I will look at, for example, can I mention names here?
It's fine.
Okay. When you look at Nairobi Hospital, for example, if your limit is 200K, what, for example, if the natural birth is about 100 and something, does it cover any extra thing that could happen? How much would you have to top up? I mean, we're not given that information firsthand to help you choose what you need to, where you need to go.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you just end up choosing something and then you have an emergency and you're told something that's not in between the lines, and you should look and you're like, hiya, now we have to start looking for these monies.
Yeah. One of the things that I remember that I was telling you at the time was NHIF. I remember having the conversation about NHIF because, again, just freshly remembering that I just had the child. So one of the things that the hospital was very keen on saying is that you should carry your NHIF and be up to date with it. So I found that very strange, because if insurance is covering, why does the hospital also have to take, something to give the national health insurance fund? And that's the thing that also we are not very... So when you go for your doctor's visits, it's not something that's very clearly explained to you what to expect at the end of the delivery, because you are expected to come to the hospital, yes, but at the same time, most of these hospitals require you to come with a pre-authorized form or something like that, so that they can, or book the 3 or 4 months ahead.
Me. I was like, so what happens if I need to give birth, if it came and I haven't booked? So that means will you shut me out? That's the question I was wondering. Like, why do we have a system like that?
And it's important to know. I mean, like, why do we need to go with a pre-authorization form from the insurance when 9 months later I'm going to have a child? So you might as well, once I tell you I'm pregnant, should give me a pre-authorization form knowing that the child is going to come in, or at least 3 months before, you know what I mean? So that you don't have to go and wait to be admitted into a hospital. So that's the thing that I always kept on wondering, some of these things. But then I had another question around the care that you received from the time you came into the hospital. When we talk about care, it's just basically respect for the birth plan that you had. So it might not have been a water bath, but you had a thought, you had
some sort of
idea of what you wanted. And then also how they treated you, how they talked to you, talking about consent. We were talking about consent earlier in terms of, inserting. Yes.
Oh my days.
So you have to ask for consent when you're doing that service check, and it shouldn't be different people who just walk around and come and do that. So let's talk about care. How did you feel about that?
Starting from the point that we got into the hospital, that guy who checked, I remember even made a joke when he was checking my stomach, and then he's like, I can see you have a community, and I thought maybe he's telling me I have twins. And I was like, what do you mean? I hope you're not saying I have twins. And he's like, no, I meant actually the people who brought you in.
Oh.
And he was the first guy who gave me that cervix check. And I thought, this isn't that bad. And I thought, because he was gentle, he prepared me mentally, and he was like, just relax, we can do this. So I thought, this is not that bad. I don't know what people have been saying, till I got to the room. And there's this thing, they started saying that we have to induce you. And I said, but why? I've just been here 3 hours. And if I'm about 2 centimeters dilate, I don't see why or understand why you need to induce me. Yet it should be something that has its natural course of doing it. And the first nurse that came in to give me the induction pill, that is one thing I will never forget. Out of everything, that was actually my whole birth story. The most traumatic thing was the checks and being induced. Because, wow, a woman was rough.
So did she explain why she's inducing you? Did you ask the question? Was there an answer?
She just said the doc has said so. And I said, I don't feel that's a good enough reason, because I know what inducing does to women. And I kept on hearing these stories of people saying, when they induce you so that at some point you're not able to give birth and you have to go for C-section.
Yeah.
So it already becomes like a whole money thing. And I didn't understand why. So I was very adamant and I said no, until the doctor actually came and said, I don't remember what he told me the reason was. But it made me look like as if you're the one who's crazy.
Yeah, you're refusing.
Yes, and if you don't do it now, it'll be your fault. So I just said, you know what? I want to get this over and done with. So let me just accept. The chick didn't even prepare me. She just and I was like, no, I don't think that's the correct way. I really don't think. And she's almost treating me like someone who has a mental problem. You get what I mean? Like trying to hold me down, like just relax. And I felt, that's
violated.
Yeah, it felt so violated. In fact, I changed my perspective on a lot of things that will not be said on camera. So I thought, no, I don't think this is right. And by the time the next person was coming, as you said, it shouldn't be everyone who's just coming to check you. By the time the next person came, she's like, okay, I'm giving you about till 10 a.m. I was like, 10 a.m. I need this baby out now. So they took some time, and I thought what I was experiencing at that time was really bad. Till it hit like about 2 p.m. And I'm now feeling the proper contractions.
Yeah.
And I thought, hey, and this is when someone wants to come. And I think also they didn't have communication because someone comes to check now, and then 10 minutes later, I'm coming to check you. And I'm like, someone's just come from here. He was like, no, I have to check you because I have to give you what information to the doctor and what. And I said, don't you guys like have some coordination? Because according to that hospital, it's only one floor for maternity. Meaning you guys are just dedicated for the people who are there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think that was the case. So it felt like, in fact, there's a point I just refused. I said, by the way, you guys are not checking me. And I feel like I'll just follow my gut. I'll trust my intuition that tells me, now you need to, to push. Even by the time the child was coming out, like the final contraction, they told me not to try and push. And I thought to myself, and I was like, what do you mean? I really feel the urge now.
Yeah.
And the child wants to come.
Yeah.
And that is the moment the child came.
Yeah.
And I asked myself, what if I listened to her?
Yeah.
And I remember seeing this lady's YouTube story. I've forgotten her name, who ended up getting fistula. That was the same thing that happened. They told her not to push, just hold it in, and look what happened.
Yeah.
So I thought to myself, if I didn't trust myself, what would have happened? Where would I have ended up? And I mean, it's crazy. Fistula is a whole other story. And to that point, I just felt like those, even the understaffing in the medical field there was just, it was so evident because how people are running up and down to check other women who are giving birth.
While you're
crazy.
giving birth.
Yeah. It felt crazy because it to me, I think it's something that should be, okay, I don't know, maybe I don't understand what the healthcare provision should be like, but I feel like that sort of setup, at least each room should have had 2 nurses or something of the sort. Or according to what I've seen at least. But that didn't, to me, that's where the gaps were, the bigger gaps. And I think also, from what I know, the mortality rate of pregnant women is so high. When it comes, like the past 2 months at work, the 3 women who have died out of, during the whole birth process. And it really opened up my eyes, like after my own birth. Like how many things can go wrong. I mean, walking out of birth with a healthy child, and you are healthy yourself. Yes. It's such a blessing at this point. And I don't take it for granted.
Yeah. Yeah. What so, God willing, is another child. What would you do differently in terms of okay, let's say birth plan, hospital, asking for, when you're there, what would you do differently?
Okay, I have thought about it. Despite it being, despite feeling what I went through, I think I'd still stick to my birth plan, my first birth plan, because to what my gut tells me, that feels like it was the right way for me to have done it. You get what I mean? the whole movement of the water calming your nerves and the whole binaural beats and everything. I think that's what I would do. And I think I'd even get a doula. I mean, to someone who outside the medical field is there to listen to you, there to calm you, there to just make you feel like you're protected. I think that's what I'll definitely do.
I think in terms of when we talk about impact of like the experience of that childbirth, and I'm going to ask that question again, like, how did it impact you to want or not want the second child?
That's a very good question. How would I say this? First of all, the pain. I normally like to pride myself in I can take any pain. But childbirth clearly, because it shows you if you know pain, you don't know pain. First of all, the pain. Also, looking at who you're having a child with. I think that's an important factor. And you just, I mean, what it has taught me, just don't mess around. We used to take it for granted, you know? But I think those are major factors because the person you're with really, how do I say, it really helps you get through so many things that you take for granted. And it's not worth it to do it, to feel alone in that aspect.
Yeah.
So that's one way it has hugely impacted my life because I'll make a much better choice next time. You just won't do things for the sake of doing it. Make sure you're being on the same page on such things. It's so important, and I think it's taken for granted by so many young people, especially. I think it's those situations where you hear that your parent has told you, don't go and do these things, and you take it for granted. But now is when you actually see they had a point. So that's one of the major ways. I don't think I have any
thing you change.
I don't think I have anything I'll change, because I think I did have a good attitude despite the hormonal imbalances and the mood swings. I think I took it pretty well. I don't think I really had postpartum depression per se, because once again, the support from family was so immense that I necessarily didn't feel alone. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So I didn't necessarily have that postpartum depression. I mean, those days where you feel, you just cry. I don't know where it comes from. But
from being tired.
Yeah, fatigued, and you feel like
overwhelmed.
Wow, this
anxious.
is a lot. And to think that women abroad do this without nannies, I mean, it's crazy. It's so crazy. So but generally speaking, I think I turned out well, and not saying it just to feel like I'm a champ or I'm a better woman or anything. I'll just say, luckily, it's friends and family. I mean, I now understand what when they say it takes a village.
Yeah.
This is exactly what it means.
Yeah. It takes a village. So tell me about during that entire process, when we talk about expectations from society or family or cultural expectations, did you feel like when you're speaking earlier about people from work giving birth in different hospitals, you have insurance. I like to remind ourselves that we also have some privileges that other people don't have. We're talking about insurance. So do you feel like, coming from a point of view of society's expectations of you, of your birth plan, that you had to do things a certain way, to be seen a certain way?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some things I would say and people look at me like, what the hell are you talking about? Do you even know what you're saying? You know, like, this is a kawaida thing. Women just do this, get it over and done with, and it shouldn't be so special. I mean, it happens every day. And those are things that you're even scared to talk about, because you have to watch who you're telling. You tell some families, like, I think people on the same level, maybe cousins, sisters, you tell them. Those who have children will be able to give you advice accordingly. Those who don't will just listen to, like, you go, girl. You do as you wish.
Yeah.
But if you're telling it to your moms and your aunties, some of them are like, "Hey, madam, you know what you're saying." There's some certain things. I don't remember what my aunties were telling me, and it just didn't feel like that was right. You get what I mean? And I don't think if I was to ever get pregnant again, I don't think I would share it with just everyone. I think I'd be one of those people who, by the way, I gave birth. And why? Because I don't want so many outside voices giving me what they feel I should be going through, or what I should do for an effective birth, per se.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's when I truly respected my mom. My mom has always been a strict person my whole life. Even telling her I was pregnant was, I think that's one of the hardest things I've had to do in my life. But the day of my birth, I saw a different woman. I actually saw her empathy, her sympathy in her eyes. She was there, and I remember seeing her walking, and I felt, "Mom, you're here." Like I felt like a child again. I cannot believe that's. I mean, I value her in a different way now, and but still, she has there are those certain ideologies that she holds because of her experiences and because of what she went through. I mean, she told me her story of her giving birth to me, and I was like, 30 hours of labor, and to hear that I came out halfway and went back in.
What? Please
like,
go back.
What?
Let's tell us that story. What?
I wasn't ready for the world, clearly.
How'd you go out and come back in?
So she had me when she was about 40. And I think, I don't know what happens. You're still young. I don't know what happens when it's when you're pregnant at a later stage in life. I think the chances for more complications or something of the sort. So first of all, she didn't even know she was carrying me for about like 4 months. Till she felt ulcers.
Sounds like a very familiar story that we had.
And she went for a checkup, and they're telling her, by the way, congratulations. She's like, I thought I was just adding weight. I don't understand how. But I think she took it gracefully. And now, moving forward, I think she had to, because her blood pressure was so high, they had to now just induce her, I think 36 weeks or 35. Now, she was in labor for 30 plus hours. And I think at some point, the nurse even told her, Kwani wewe hujui kusukuma? And I think she was like, what? You're so disheartened, you're tired, and someone telling you all this nonsense. And then her doctor came in at the right time, and he had to plunge me out because she pushed, and I came out halfway, and I think back in.
Is that even a thing?
I don't know. I'm imagining the sounds. There's that water, everything.
Yeah.
And he had to plunge me out. And I think I didn't even breathe for like the first 5 minutes, according to her. So for her, that must have been way more traumatic. Yeah. And I think that's the whole empathy she came with when I was giving birth. Because I was, when did my labor start? At 2 a.m. And I gave birth at 6:48 p.m.
Yes. The next day.
No, the same day.
Oh, yes, the same day. The same day.
But still, that's a huge amount of time. That's what, 19 hours? I think 19 hours, yeah. Just seeing her there was the best thing in the world at that time.
And I imagine there's like things we want to talk about in terms of what would you say? Because you're a first-time mom. I mean, you can't make recommendations as to what we should do better. But another first-time mom is listening right now. And she's like, I understand what that babe went through. So what would you say to someone who is thinking, because they're also looking, they're also trying to find, because I until today, my friend Jerry gave birth the other day. She was still looking for recommendations of the best hospitals. At this day and age, we should have those resources somewhere where someone says, these are my real bona fide, non-paid experiences about this hospital so that I know. And our hospital maternity experience has become so medicalized that we're actually asking influencers to influence us on hospitals.
Yeah.
And not the actual experience of what you get there. So I feel like there's something that's not...
First of all, I would not rely on influencers. Again, yes, they might give us a glimpse of what is there to experience.
First, wait. Explain to people who don't understand what these influencers influenced you on.
Okay. I don't know if you can mention the hospital name.
No, but maybe not. But like, just how did we even get into the influencer hospital-ness?
Algorithm. Now with these technologies, I think when you search one pregnant thing, now your phone decides everywhere you go, it's going to be giving birth information or pregnancy tips. So at that time, I happened to see this couple that happened to have chosen that hospital. And I think just either 2 weeks prior or 2 weeks after, another famous couple had also gone there to the executive suite to give birth. And the first couple I saw had the whole live experience, like everything, the whole birth bit. And I thought, that's very brave of you to have
done that.
Yeah, to have done that. That's a very invasive process. And then I thought, wow, those guys are showing so much care. But now when I think about it, they had to do that for the show. You get what I mean? They had to make sure that all those nurses, that all those doctors, because there are about 3-4 people helping her. Meanwhile, in my birth, there was one person who was racing between another room. Huyu amezaa? Hapana. Huyu amefika wapi? Hapana. You know, such things. And that's the difference. They say the birth process is a very thin line in sanity. Yeah? I think she went mad. Okay. like jokes aside, she just entered my room and she had blood all over. She only had a hoodie and the maternity diapers that you have to get. Those blood all over, and I'm thinking, what the hell? So that's when it hit me, probably what you saw, and I got a glimpse of what you've been trying to say, that you'd never do this again.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this chick, and then she's asking me, where's the nurse? And I wondered, why would I know where the nurse is? I'm in my room. And then she looks like she was shivering, she was shaking. And then now she just said, call for me the nurse. And then she just ran back to her room. And I said, okay, let me just call the nurse real quick. I beep. The nurse came to my room. I said, the lady next, I think, needs you. So she went and she came back. And she told me, if that lady comes here again, mfukuze. And I thought, what? Why? Why would I do that? And I think my mom came in after some time and I had to go to the bathroom. And that lady came again. And she's crying. And I can't believe I'm not understanding what's going on. But I was in the bathroom, so I overheard her. And I think my mom called the nurse once again. And she went back. Now, fast forward to about midnight. She came again to my room and asked me for food. And I thought, there's something not happening. Yeah. And I thought it was, so I don't remember what I had. I gave her uji, I gave her, I think, Lucozade or something. And she drank it like someone who's been in the desert for a long time. And I thought, this is so bizarre. And then 2 nurses came and they took her. And then they say, this woman is crazy. She's just going knocking in people's rooms. She went to another room where the husband was just there. And she's in the same state with the
so they've not cleaned her?
Nothing. So I thought, this is so strange. And later on, I came to learn that she was taken to like the psych ward. And she was alone. She had no family. Her partner wasn't there. And I'm thinking, what happens to the child? What happens to her?
Yeah.
I mean, and then you're here treating her like some high school student who is sneaking from room to room. I mean, she needs your attention. So now that's when I started feeling, okay, maybe this hospital wasn't the best choice.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because first, I remember after I'd given birth, I think I fainted. Because I woke up in a different place from where I was. And that's the first time I ever fainted in my life. And I thought, this is such a strange feeling. And I thought, this is... okay, now things are not maybe adding up. I made a premature choice just because I was influenced to do this. and all for the glam. And yeah, to someone who would watch this and say, I think really take your time, not just to see what you're seeing on Instagram or TikTok or YouTube.
Yeah.
Take the time, and I think the best teacher is experience. So listen to other women.
The elderlies. Is that what you're trying to say? The elderlies.
Listen to those. Some of them might just say things for the sake of saying. That's true. You don't have to, I think, be a sieve. Listen to what everyone is telling you. Listen to the experiences and filter and see, does it align with what you imagine for yourself? Because, wow, it's really important. It's really important choosing where you choose to give birth.
Yeah. And not only give birth, but then also figure out what community looks like for you in that space. Because then you might go to a hospital where they say we can't allow you to have anyone here. And
like during COVID now.
Yeah. And I mean, but also just going back to that influencing thing, I hesitate to say this, but I'm wondering how many people are like you right now out there.
Probably many.
Being influenced, and what kind of situation? Because yours was positive. If anyone is watching and they would like to reach out to us and just tell us if their situation was not positive, what happened after that?
And I thought, on that note, I thought I did my due diligence I think I read each and every comment under those YouTube videos.
Comments.
I went
TikTok
to the
generation.
Comments. Yeah,
what?
I went to the comments and I said, these people will be objective. Because, friends and family sometimes might just try to steer you in the direction they want you to go.
Yeah.
So I thought this will be objective, guys, and say things for the sake of the truth, Yani.
Yeah.
And that specific hospital, I think, had the best comments out of all the hospitals I went. I went to Facebook, I searched all from Avenue to Nairobi Hospital to Nairobi West Hospital, all of them. And I thought, maybe the one with the most positive comments, it's like when you're trying to buy something online, you'll obviously look through the comments. And I think, wow, this is where our generation has reached.
Yes, this is where, let me just say that out loud. When we're having intergenerational conversations, this is literally one of them. Because whatever you're saying,
I
cannot imagine, I cannot understand. Giving birth is not buying something online.
I know. Unfortunately, we have come to learn. But yeah, I really read through the comments and I thought, okay, maybe this will be the hospital I choose. And I don't think it's really easy, because now you come to realize, via the internet, everyone just says whatever they feel like saying.
Exactly.
You just can't take something. I mean, there's a good side to it, but there's also the bad side. People just say what they feel like saying at any one point.
Yeah.
How do you know if they're being malicious? How do you know if they wanted something they didn't get? So now this is what I'm going to say.
Yeah. So I have 2 questions before we close. 1, if the doctor was here, what question would you ask her?
First of all, the first question I'd ask her is inducing a normal thing to be done for? Because what I've read online from what should be happening and the effects of such things, do hospitals really care for the health of the mother and child, or do they just do it for the sake of it being a money-making scheme? You get what I mean? How would doctors advise us? Because from what I know, I wanted a gynecologist from the beginning, but I realized I kept on hearing stories that ladies who had mothers who had a certain gynecologist, and when it came to the time of giving birth, they took leave and went to travel. So you've built a relationship with that doctor throughout your whole pregnancy for them to tell you I've handed you over to someone else.
Yeah.
And then to add on, I never knew that you having a gynecologist in your bathroom is another extra expense of about 150K, for example. And I thought, that's wild.
Yeah. Actually, that's true. So you will hear, and again, if the doctor was here, I'm sure she'll share more information. So an obstetrician takes you through the delivery process and then basically does everything around your pregnancy and that. So you can have an OBGYN, but you can have, a gynecologist just alone. So the Dr. Mudhoni works with one of the person who delivered the man. And he walked the journey with me from day of delivery to, at some point I even got a complication and he held my hand and took me to the hospital. Like literally admitting me, making sure that I'm well. And on the day of delivery, he was there. And that's the kind of old school doctor that I expect, walking the journey. And I'm sure many doctors do the same thing. The second time around, I opted not to have an OBGYN. So I attended this hospital and we would see the doctors on call. And on the day of delivery, midwives delivered me. And it was a very, very different experience for me. It was more of they were not hearing me. They were not listening to what I'm saying. But then at the same time, it's my second baby. I delivered the first one normally. Those are the questions they were asking me. So, ulipata mtoto wako normal? Normal delivery? Na huu ni second? So they just expect me to just know.
Just suddenly remember.
And it was a 10-year gap. So, for me, I felt like, you're not listening to me. Even the birth process itself, I kept on saying, the baby is coming. And the guy is like, you were just 6 centimeters, like 1 hour ago. The baby can't be coming. But I'm like, I can feel the same thing you're saying. I feel it. The baby is coming. He's like, explain to me what you're feeling. And I'm like, bro, no, this is not how it works. Okay, when the baby is coming, it's coming. So it was a very different experience for me the second time around. But then I realized it's also because I have more knowledge. I have more understanding of what it is that I went through the first time. And then I have more autonomy over my own body. And I can say these things out loud because I also understand.
Do you feel like that came with age as well?
I feel like it came with age, but then it also came with my body knowing what it did the first time. I don't know if that makes sense.
It went back to memory.
It went back to memory. And I'm like, and the doctor said to my husband, this one gave birth very quickly. So you might also have the same thing. He literally said, ni wale uzaa kwa barabara. So that was playing in my mind as the guy is telling me, how do you think you're feeling? And I'm like, the baby is coming. So listen, understand, hear, feel, but also communicate. The thing that I feel like they don't do very well is that they don't listen. I know you're the expert, but I'm trying to communicate something that's going on inside me. Please listen and understand. So I also feel like the thing that you've raised quite well is that I have an understanding of what I want. You with this new...
I was very green. I had no expectation to have.
The way you consume information is different from mine. So I think maybe it's time for your generation to explain to people, this is the kind of information I want and this is how I want it. How would you explain to the doctor, literally, I need to know this information.
And I think it also boils down to, as you had asked from conception, what kind of doctors should we see? I mean, now we have, if you search online, that's when you see things like Maristops now offer those. Maristops are not just known for other businesses.
Yeah.
They offer such services, but you don't know the quality. You don't know if you'll be treated like just another girl who's gotten pregnant or another lady who's gotten pregnant. And I think there's also a lack of information on how to go about that. Because it's just go to this doctor, go and get this test done, go and get this scans done, go and get this done. Then you don't know if it's for the sake of doing it or it's actually what's meant to happen. And then you find yourself paying an arm and a leg for consultation visits just to be told, let's hear the baby's heartbeat. How are you feeling? Any symptoms? Okay, come. These are the dates.
Yeah.
And I just paid almost 3 Gs. How does it just go like that? Do we have affordable, how would I say?
Yeah, maternity care.
Maternity care. Prenatal, yes, that's actually
antenatal, postnatal.
Yes, that's exactly what I was looking for. So do we have those options who can guide, especially young moms, or let me say first-time moms, to those who don't have the privilege of using insurance to go for such visits? Where will they go? Will they make wise choices accordingly? I don't think we have that at all, for sure.
And it's a huge gap. So us at Unmothering the Woman, I'm plugging myself, we're trying to create those resources and put them up on our website. But I don't think we can do better, is what I'm saying. Like, by us having this conversation and someone else listening, they will be able to say, oh, okay, that's the kind of information that I want. I'm hoping people like Marie Stopes, people like who are in the reproductive health space, can also come and partner with us to see if we can reach some of these first-time moms with this information. It would be brilliant for us to reach more orders via TikTok, where you're consuming your content, and figure out,
because it's how we're figuring out life right now.
Exactly. And then also, do these influencers who influence this hospitals come with disclaimers? Those are the questions we should be asking.
Actually, to the question you asked me, how does my birth changed any part of my life? It's how I viewed influencers. Because now I came to realize many of them, okay, fine, it's their job, but rarely do many of them do these things for the sake of resonating with that particular hospital or brand, if I may quote it that way, for the sake of, I liked this service and this is what I will share, and I think the world should see this, as opposed to, hey, we can choose this hospital for this. How much will they pass to Kizauko? Such things, they don't tell you the truth. They're just making their money. So I'd also say, take it with a pinch of salt. Don't just consume it. I mean, this is our generation now. We consume all we see on the media.
Yeah.
Don't just take it in and think what happened to them would definitely happen to you, because to them, we're just another patient. Them, it's someone who is going to market. There's a difference in sales and marketing and the Vituka ground.
Vituka ground need different.
Very different.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think I would definitely say that. And I don't know if this will be my second question to the doctor or if it's a point. But the topic about doulas and that whole team. From what I've seen and heard, I feel like they provide a more natural experience for mothers who are expecting mothers, those who are just about to give birth, the whole process. I feel like doctors ridicule them a lot, because if you bring that up during a doctor's visit, they'll just laugh it off and be like, you seriously want to go that route? And the mothers who I know have gone that route have had such good experiences with birth. I mean, there's this thing now of not cutting the umbilical cord immediately. That whole thing. I feel like we should have that aspect as well, because if hospitals are not that genuine enough to care for you, roho safi, then I'm sure there's a certain group of people who are willing to do that. But what we don't know is the safety.
The safety of it.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is literally the doctor saying, or the medical field basically saying, the reason why you want us to have children in hospitals is because it's a safer, cleaner environment. And there's a more higher chance of you not, risk, the mortality rate of both you and your child is less in a hospital. That's what they always say. But that aspect of a doula also comes in, is this person walking the journey with you. Every single time you feel like, I have this ache, I have that ache, you don't have that 3,000 bob to go for a consultation for someone to say, oh, it's just indigestion. This doula literally walks. She's like your sister or your mother, holding you and respecting you and feeling you, walking with you on that journey. And that's why people, talk about, respectful maternity. Like, how do you feel when you're actually in that process where someone understands and says, okay, I understand. And this is me speaking from, the doctor that worked with me the journey. And he would sit and he would listen and he would say, okay, I understand. And he wouldn't treat me as just another statistic. He's a very popular doctor, actually. He's Dr. Modoni, the one who was supposed to come partner. And he's a very respected doctor in his field. And he would not treat me like another statistic. I'm sure that day he might have seen 10 women, but he would make you feel like you are his first. And you know, he'd be like, okay, you've talked to him, now sit here. Let me check you. And you feel, you know, and there's always that thing that will come up in your whatever. And he'll remind you, you're not eating well, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. And that's the thing that you're missing, you know, in that respecting
the personal touch.
Exactly. So once you go and you've just had your baby and guys are like, yeah, you're fine, you can go home tomorrow. That's not how it works. So thank you for coming and sharing your story with us.
Thank you for hosting.
I'm hoping that I didn't bring back traumatic memories.
Oh no, you didn't.
But I'm sure you've helped a couple of people who are going to be watching this, and just in case they want to reach out, and would you be willing to?
Yeah, sure. Why not? If it could help. It's crazy, actually. I never posted my pregnancy online until during my baby shower, one of my friends posted me on her story and she tagged me, and I said, okay, the secret is out. I might as well. And the moment I reposted that story, the number of women who are my friends and reached out, oh, you're also pregnant. And I thought, wow, okay. I now built a small community from them. So we've been sharing our progress since, and it's crazy how now after they reached out, we can now have the questions. It's like our mini forum of things we can get to find out, things they never tell you during pregnancy. I don't know if you've ever seen a TikTok that
no.
No, seriously, on a serious note, there's this TikTok that scrolls when someone says something they've gone through in pregnancy, and then now it's like
a stage.
No. Okay, I don't think it's a stage. Okay, you get the gift. So they say this is reason 308 why I should never get pregnant. So there are those things that they never tell you, and you get so shocked. Like
a prolapsed uterus. Do you know your uterus can fall out of your vagina?
So I saw, and I was like, what is this?
Literally have a prolapsed uterus. Yes.
And that's what we got to share through, I don't know, that's the positive side of social media, I guess. So yeah, we built like a mini group of moms.
So now we're asking if anyone who is watching and feels like they connected with Rhoda, connected with us, and you want to know more about her story and connect with her in her mini community, please feel free.
Join our group, our WhatsApp group.
What's up? See TikTok channel?
No, we don't have TikTok groups, but once they have that update, we're live.
Done. Okay, so Sawa, thank you for coming, and yeah, that's the end of our little thing. It's a wrap.